my first anxious experience.
And to go out and put your feelings on the line with someone. And
I decided that's it. I'm never coming back here again.
I'm a little bit nervous, I think.
And it's okay to say no. Back in the 90s, essentially before this mental health thing was like, it wasn't really talked about.
This is why this was such a big deal for me. It wasn't one of those, oh, it's Sunday, it's the end of the weekend, I've got work tomorrow. Not in the way that you're thinking either.
What was her name?
Her?
You heard it first here, folks.
InspirationNation. Hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast, here with Joe Noya and Ryan Boniface as always. How are we this week, guys?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Lee. How are you?
Look at that, Joe. You timed that perfect. Not too long, not too short.
Yeah, I'm just
right.
I'm in France at the moment, so
it's like
you
porridge.
Found the Goldilocks zone of responding to questions. I like it. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching, downloading, and listening. Follow us on social media at ListenToIN, ListenToIN. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to leave us a review on whichever platform you are listening in. It all helps get the love out for the nation. So, Ryan is the master of the subject for this week. What is your well-prepared subject for this week, Ryan?
I'm a little bit nervous, I think. Not because because I've not prepared, but because it's something that hasn't really happened to me before. I want to talk about firsts, not in the way that you're thinking either.
What was her name?
Her?
you heard it first here, folks.
Yeah,
on the podcast.
I want to talk about firsts in a way that I had what I would consider my first anxious experience. Not anxiety attack. I didn't curl up into a ball or not be able to do anything, but I had my first proper anxious experience for a long time. They aren't new to me, but they are new to me as recently as of 4 or 5 years since I've been in the industry I've been in, right? It's difficult. The reason I'm a little bit nervous about bringing it up is that there's a lot of things I can't really disclose for professional reasons, so it's going to come across a bit hypothetical and
That's it. Keep it high level and hypothetical, but you can put in some of your feelings without giving the detail, can't you?
Yeah, no, of course. It would make more sense if I could give full granular detail, obviously, as most things would, but just that's what it is. So it was actually this weekend. Something happened over the weekend, and a few things have been happening over the last couple of weeks. I've been asked to temporarily take on a bit more responsibility because somebody is away, which is fine, because when I go on holiday or when I'm sick, somebody else is going to have to cover my responsibilities, and it's part and parcel of working a job, I guess, is that sometimes people aren't there and you're asked to pick up not the slack, but a bit of the stuff they do to be able to support the wider team, which is fine. Alongside that, a few other things have been going on. And since Friday and yesterday and over the weekend, all of those individual areas have started biting and being like, I need something from you now, or this is going to start kicking off alongside this and alongside this, alongside this. And Sunday, I remember sitting at home. I'm not going to be anywhere else, although I can now. We're allowed to go outside and stuff, but me and introverted isn't going to be anywhere else. I was sat here, pretty much where I am now, and I was sitting there and I was like, I don't really want to go to work tomorrow. And it wasn't one of those, oh, it's Sunday, it's the end of the weekend, I've got work tomorrow. No, it was I really don't want to go to work tomorrow. Like, I'm ready to phone in sick. And what would essentially be pull a sickie because I'm not actually ill, but you know what I mean.
So what did you do with your sick day then?
I don't think I've had a sick day for about 4 years. So I'm going to be one of those guys. I've not had a day off for so long. And I remember this weight I say I remember as if it was like years ago, but there was this weight that felt like it was pressing on my shoulders and on the top of my chest, just holding me down. And what I was anxious about was, in essence, repercussions of other people's actions off of the back of things I've told them to do and things I've informed people. And I went to work Monday, everything was okay, nothing really happened. And I was like, cool. And then I had a meeting, and one of those other things I said that started nibbled quite hard. And I felt really anxious because I was like, I don't think I can sustain this. I can't sustain covering this other bit of work that I've been asked to do, what happened at the weekend and how I feel about that, and this. And the other work I've been asked to cover isn't the odd day. It's actually 3 weeks. So it's quite a chunk of time. People don't tend to take 3 weeks off work often. It's pretty rare that kind of thing happens. For those people that work in an office industry, you'll know that the average is, 2 weeks. Maybe a week if they're having a short time off or whatever. But 3 weeks is a relatively long time. And I just felt that everything was getting on top of me a little bit. And I was really anxious about it. And I didn't quite know how to bridge the conversation with my manager. So much so that I asked my manager's manager for a conversation, Lee, because I know that I can talk to him freely. And I know that, well, half the things I need to talk to him about anyway that were related to the issues that we're having. So it just made sense to have the singular conversation. As per usual, he airs me. So I can't quite reach my phone right now. Decline. No, he couldn't make it because understandably he's a busy man and he isn't necessarily I'm not directly his responsibility, which is fine. Even if I was, he's busy and that's life. So I was like,
I don't care about you. Don't forget that.
That is the driving factor, of course. Yeah. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to bridge this conversation with my manager. And I've never had this conversation with any manager I've had, because for those of you that have listened and you two that know me, things don't get me down. Like, I am not, I would say superhuman, but that's just everything about me really. But no, I just don't suffer with issues like that. I can shrug things off like nothing. So that's when I knew, when I was like, I need to have this conversation, that I'm not great. Like, I'm not in a great place. So messaged my manager. As Microsoft Teams users will know, she was away, and I was like, God, does that mean she's having lunch? Is she at the toilet? Has she gone shopping or what? But I messaged her and I was like, hey, are you still working? And she messaged me back about half hour later and said, yep, still here, all okay. And I messaged her back and I said, I'm losing my head a bit today. Can we have a chat? And she called me and I said, I'll only take 10 minutes of your time. And an hour later, I was still there spilling my heart out. Essentially spoke about things that I've never spoken to her about before and told her about all these issues. And I don't have that much that goes on in my personal life anymore because I cut it out, because I'm really career driven at my age and I have my goals that I want to achieve, and not much really goes on outside of work, but the things that do are a bit testing. We spoke about it all, and as soon as I hung up the phone, I felt that weight that was on my shoulder and chest just like go. And what essentially the crux of the conversation that I wanted to talk about today was, how do you negotiate those things? Like, because as I've said, and as we've experienced, or as I've kind of documented throughout the podcast, like this is whilst I say I've had it before, this is the first time in literal years that I've had problems like this. So I wasn't quite sure what to do. I felt like going to my manager was a sign of weakness. I felt like if I went to her and said, I've got too much on my plate, she's never going to trust me with anything of any stature ever again, because I may come across as weak. And that's just me. Like, she even said to me, if you need me to cover anything off for you, let me know. And I said, I don't quit that easily, but I just needed to talk about it. And she said, don't be so stupid. If you need me to help with something, then I'll help with it. So yeah, that essentially after that conversation, I felt okay, and I feel like I can get through the last few days of this week, and then the other person that I'm covering's back, and then that's one weight lifted off me that's externally put on, and things can go back to normal. Like, generally, I've had a really good few weeks. I even messaged these guys last week saying that I thought I was going to have a really, really bad day. And then 3 hours later, I messaged them again and said I've had the most productive day I've had for a month. So generally at the minute, things are flying for me, but it just felt like this weekend, everything that wanted a bit out of me took it. Those people that work in all types of jobs will know that you may have a lot of things going on at once, but only very few of them will be immediately, urgently needing something then and there. And it was about 5 or 6 things like straight away that needed it. And I think that just not pushed me over the edge, but it pushed me to what I now deem as my limit. So I just wanted to talk about your guys' first experience at finding your limit, like your first in finding the limit of that you know that you need a break. That I've got annual leave booked next week, just for those wanting a bit of context. So I know that after this week I can kind of drop tools and do what I want for a week and reset. But when did you guys first find that limit, and how do you stop yourself from reaching it again?
Lee?
Firstly, it's weird. I'm going to my screen because every so often there's an IT issue my end and people freeze on my screen. So I'm not sure if you're going to talk or not because you weren't moving for ages. Firstly, Ryan, thank you for that. That was brilliant. That was a brilliant little talk about all of that stuff, for you being so open. And I think it's a well done on bridging that gap, which, like you said, you've never had that conversation with anybody before, for that weakness fear and everything else like that. And you said you felt a lot better afterwards, which hopefully will help you if you need to do that sort of thing going forward again. Because it happens with all of us. It always happens with all of us. And I'm just trying to think, because I know now, and we've talked about it through various episodes, what my mechanisms are. And I know people I've got who I can, talk to about stuff when everything gets quite hectic and you get that same sort of feeling. But I'm just trying to remember when I first remember having it and whether I dealt with it constructively or not constructively as well. So I'm just going to ponder on a second while I hand over to my learned colleague, Jose Noya.
Oh, okay. So Brian, I want to second Lee's, what he said about you telling us about this, because it's something you haven't sort of really done on the podcast before, and being honest and vulnerable. Really, it's quite a vulnerable place to put yourself in, and to go out and put your feelings on the line with someone. And I remember, and I've written down a few things, because back in the previous podcast you said you compartmentalize things really well, and so you can sort of do it. And it sounds like this.
This is why this was such a big deal for me, because as I said, I usually brush things off really well. I can shake things off, and I think it was just a build up of not having any proper time off for a long time. It's been about, I think Easter was my last period of time off properly. I had my one day off for my birthday, but it's a birthday really a day off. You're seeing people, you're doing stuff, but otherwise I haven't had a proper former period of annual leave or holiday or time off or whatever since, as I say, Easter. And I think it's just a climax of that 4-month period, covering for somebody else, having a few things going on at the same time in work that all want something, that I just was like, well, wait a minute, what am I feeling? Because for a few hours, because this hit maybe mid-afternoon Sunday. No. Sorry. When that hit mid-afternoon Sunday, and then it was about 24 hours before I had that conversation, and I kind of managed to clear it. So it was I just didn't quite know what to do with myself. Like, it was the last thing I thought of before I went to sleep, and it was the first thing I thought of when I woke up, and I just didn't really know what to do. Like, I dragged myself through the day. I did the things that I had to do, but I don't know. It was just a really weird experience.
Yeah, and for that, I think it talks volumes about your level of self-awareness where you are. So, and it's it's exposing your vulnerability. You didn't feel it before. You're not sure what to do with it. In fact, that shows a really high level of self-awareness. You talked about what you said you are, and that proves it, right? Because you've recognised, actually, I can compartmentalize for hours. I'm not really compartmentalizing very well with this one. I need to talk to someone. And and also, someone offering help and you actually being open to that help is a big thing. So, mine was my depression. That was it. It was like the thing that woke me up. Now, I'm thinking about your story, what you just said, and I think if I had maybe reached out and been vulnerable, which I felt I had to be, like you say, like when you said, I think you said going to my manager is a sign of weakness. So I had those sorts of things going on in my head. I don't think I could approach management. I didn't think I could approach people because I think they'll think I'm weak. I couldn't do it. And back in the 90s, as I said to you before, this mental health thing was like, it wasn't really talked about, and so I felt in this position where I couldn't really do much. But you did something which is amazing. For me, I didn't. And so because I wasn't self-aware how I was feeling, when I felt anxiety, I didn't really recognize what it was. I wasn't really in tune with who I was. And then when it all hit in one go. It was like life was whispering to me, Joe, you need to tell someone, or you need to acknowledge how you're feeling. I was ignoring it, blasting through it, just going through it, getting myself through days. And then I just said one day I just broke down. And as I said, that, you'll hear that in episode 1 of the podcast, where I just, broke down. And that's why it's important to be able to express how you're feeling. That 10-minute conversation turned into an hour because you needed to talk about it. And after that discussion, you felt lighter. You felt that the weight come off. And that's exactly what I'd probably needed before I got to my depressive stage. I didn't recognize any of that. So you've done a really good thing there. So mine is that. And it's recognizing those times when you have to reach out. And so now it's like, for me, it's the tools that I now use. It's the coaching I now use to continue to deal with those things. And having podcasts like this and you telling your stories like this is going to, you being vulnerable like this is really going to help other people recognize that, hey, maybe I really do compartmentalize 99% of the time really well, but there's that 1% or that 10% where I do need to talk to someone. And so that's how I'd approach it. But my first thing was my depression. That was the thing that really hit me and woke me up to all of this, what we're talking about now. And that's really where mine hit. And I still get anxiety, but I managed it much better. I go for a walk, I talk to people, or I had that project and I recognise that I'm not in a good space. I need to speak to someone. So I rang up some services, had a chat with them, right? Because like you, I needed to talk to someone. And when I had that chat, like you said, you feel better about it, you express what you're worried about. And actually, when you put it into context, actually, these are things I can do. And you sort of think, well, actually, this doesn't work out. I can still handle that. And it sort of gives you that resilience piece. So yeah, I'm really super proud of you, mate. That's a really big thing to divulge. And that's mine. And I'm sure you all know that, but it's like, even now, I still have to be aware of it. I have to be on point with it. And I need to hey, look, I'm not feeling it. And I don't know, in the podcast, I said, I did a video to you guys. I said, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not feeling it today. And I dragged myself, almost like you said, drag myself through the day to do the things because I feel important to me. But by expressing it and by telling you guys in the thing, and then I said, I'm going to post it. And I posted it. That's what really helped. And it alleviates. And I don't know why it helps, but it just helps to get it out, doesn't it? I'm still not 100% sure why it helps, but it does, talking about it. So I just want to say a massive well done, mate, honestly. So authentic. So thanks for sharing. That's mine anyway. So I hand over to Lee.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's even going to make a good story, but it will fill some airtime if nothing else. I'm remembering the first time I really felt it when I didn't deal with it well. So way back in the day, I used to work in a hotel, which could be quite tiring on your feet, always go, and quite stressful because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen quite quickly and all your usual things about tired and exhausted and feeling pressure and whatever else. And I can't remember why or what caused it, but I remember the feeling where there was the day where I decided, that's it, I'm never coming back here again. This is my last shift. I am not doing this again, no matter what happens. And I remember a few things where I'm like, that's fine. That's the last time I'm ever doing that. I am never coming back again. And went home, had a sleep, got up the next day, went back in, of course, like you do, and kind of moved on with things. Now, I didn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't do anything with that. So I don't think I necessarily learned anything or dealt with it, but that's the first time I can and I don't know why it stuck with me, that I can really remember that feeling of, I've just had enough of this. And I think it was just a combination of kind of like tiredness and, not sharing how I'm feeling and stuff like that let it all build up. So a bit like you said, Joe, the sharing bit is really important. I can't remember the first time I felt it and I just had a moment like you did there, Ryan, which is really good, because I hope that's something that really crystallizes in your head and is a thing you can use know how you can cope with things going forward. But I do know that over the years, I've built up really good relationships with certain key people that both ways, I know I can go to when I get those feelings. It's quite often, like you did, Ryan, you just need to talk them out, because as you start to think about it and you go to sleep thinking about it and you wake up in the morning thinking about it, the things become a lot bigger in your head than potentially they actually are, or they're not as important to other people as they are to you. And once you get to talk them out, it starts to build in that bit of context to everything. And I've learned that that's a really useful tool to use. In fact, it's made me think, one thing I do, and not just work, whatever it is related to anything, but quite often you can get in your own world and everything seems very stressful and things can build up and whatever. And I find going to parents, even my mum's place or my dad's, and sitting out in their garden or in the dining room or whatever for a couple of hours and having a tea and a bit of cake and conversation with them and hearing about their world and getting to share a little bit of how I'm feeling just helps kind of pull me out of my bubble into a bigger world. And I often find that I go away from those interactions feeling a lot calmer than I did, just because I kind of, it's a way of getting me out of my own head, which is which I've not really thought about in that way, but that's one of the things I do to cope with that outside of like a direct, oh, here's someone I work with who understands everything that's going on. Because actually a bit of context that what goes on in our world actually doesn't matter one bit to people outside of it, sometimes helps bring a bit of context to everything as well. So there's some of the things I do with it. But like you, it's something I've learned over time to do, and been comfortable with myself, and then try to hope other people are comfortable with that view that you found out today, Ryan, that it's okay for things to feel too much. It's okay to say this is too much, and actually people don't. It's not a negative. In fact, it's a strength to be able to put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Go on.
It was weird because I developed this compartmentalism. If that's even a word, I'm sure it is. But
I roll with it anyway.
Yeah, I developed it when I worked at a popular fast food restaurant as a manager.
I'm loving it.
Where so many different things happens all the time, like at once, and that is just part and parcel of it. And I don't know if it's a case of the fact that it's been 5.5 years since I've been there, where I've not been in those kind of high pressurized situations for so long that I've forgotten how to deal with them. So I don't think that's it, but it's the first time since then that it's kind of crept up on me. But yeah, even when it used to happen before, I think it was just because the job was so high intense and high pressured, you couldn't talk to anyone because they'd be like, oh yeah, same. And you'd be like, cool, yeah, good talk. Because they're going through the same thing. So you just kind of got on with it. And I would have you'd have your ways of dealing with it outside of work, having a beer or having an early night, or depending on who the person is, other activities or whatever. But that it was weird because I didn't know. It was the fact I didn't know how to combat it. Like I spoke to somebody Sunday evening and yesterday morning, and they was like, it'll be all right, you'll be fine. And they're not wrong, but I think I just needed to have the conversation with somebody that would properly understand.
Yeah.
That had more than likely been there and would know how to fix it if I didn't. And that was nice. It was nice to know that I could reach out. Because I'm always the last person to ask for help, because I always like to find a way to the answer myself, or to way to working things out myself. So I'd like to think it was as much of a surprise on the person I asked as it was on me asking. But yeah, that my own head will still tell me that it's almost a sign of weakness to ask, no matter what anybody tells me. My own head will continue to forever tell me that it's a sign of weakness, and I'm supposed to be the all singing, all dancing Jesus of my job, as sometimes we joke internally.
Learn your lessons, Ryan. Learn your lessons.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's weird to need that help as well. Like, again, because it's been so long, you sometimes think that you're the finished article. Sometimes you think that, oh, I haven't had a problem like that for ages. In the same way that I'm sure it's obviously not the same, but I suppose it's comparable to addiction, sobriety, and things like that. Gambling, drink, drugs, whatever. You do it for 10, 15 years and you think, it's fine, I don't have to worry about it anymore. But then that's when the issues start creeping back in, right? So in the same way, maybe in the same way that's where it came from. I'd love to know why those culmination of things crept up on me in the way they did. I think it's the fact that I've not had any time off for a while. That is probably what it is. But I would love to know for definite what it was so that I could just stop it happening in the future. Because not taking annual leave or having long periods at work are quite common for me. Like it's not that this year's an anomaly and I have a week off every 6 weeks or whatever the average split is throughout the year to ensure you have the same amount of time. Like have been at work for 6 months in a row is common practice for me. Like I can just go through the motions. So it's weird being in that position and having to ask myself why. Because I'm not quite sure I know the answer. Like not 100% know the answer anyway.
I think that's good though, Ryan, that you don't know the answer, and it's that you're asking yourself the question, because we probably may not have asked the question before, and now you're asking the question. That's just signs of another level of self-awareness that you're gaining, and you've got a belief there about you don't ask for help, and you're addressing that, and it's good that you're aware of it, because that actually you're asking yourself almost, how does this belief serve me? If I'm struggling, it's like you're examining that belief as to where it serves you or not. And it still doesn't mean, asking for help, it's that whole belief, asking for help, it's a sign of weakness. All that stuff is all the beliefs that we've built, models we take on. And the fact that you're challenging them because you recognize that actually it's okay to say no, it's okay to ask for help, and those things are okay, because people know who you are, Ryan. Ryan, you are the man that fixes loads of stuff, but you also recognise that actually sometimes Ryan does need help. And I think that for you is it's like a massive shift. And maybe there's stuff in the McDonald's thing that you didn't deal with. You said when you asked other people, they said the same. You didn't really deal with it. You just decided to move on. So maybe it's something in the past that you're still having to deal with. You just haven't dealt with it, and now it's come up again. You've now dealt with. You've almost like taken a further step and actually asked that help. You've had a deeper conversation around what that is, and that's alleviated. So this might be the start of something being able to alleviate that better. And like Lee said, have that coping strategy if it does rise. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say no as well. It's okay to say no. And so I really think this is a really, really great. I think it's a brilliant self-awareness piece right now we're talking about. So brilliant, well done, Ryan, because that can be really difficult because you've got a self-identity thing about, I'm a person I don't need to ask for help. I solve things, I deal with things, but recognizing that you do need to ask for help at some point. It's not all the time, of course, not all the time. It's like minimal, right? But you recognizing that's massive. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's, we can all learn from this as well. Definitely.
For me, it's Absolutely. Never okay to say no. If I say no, I let someone down.
But this is it, isn't it? It's that again, it's another belief, isn't it? But it's okay, right? Because if you don't say no and you're burnt out or whatever this feeling you're getting, right, and you don't address it, which you have, which is brilliant, but you hadn't done, who knows where it would have gone, right? Yeah. Who knows? And it's okay to say no. And I think we can all learn a lot from that, because we all like to say yes, because we're the people who like to help people, right? But sometimes we need to help ourselves, right? Because if we're not in a good place, how the hell can we serve other people or help other people? So if you were burnt out, Ryan, you are Jesus, right? But even Jesus needs a bit of help sometimes, right? You needed a bit of help. You need a bit of help, right?
That was a joke. Don't call me Jesus, please.
Look at him being so modest. Oh, I'm not.
I'm not really. Yeah.
There's a really good subject and a really good topic. There's a little bit of me that after that first introduction, I almost wanted to say thank you, and that's all we've got, because I'm not sure it even needed anything added to it, just because it was so open and so good. So thank you for that. But obviously wanted to add in our our views and stuff to add to that. We hope, as we try to do with Inspiration, that this has added some good inspiration for people out there, given some good food for thought. We are out every single week, every Tuesday. We are live on Instagram at 8:30 GMT. Just look for Jose Noya-Inspiration on Instagram and search that across anywhere. YouTube is where you'll catch us. And of course, we're on all podcast platforms. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention heading over to InspirationNation.org.uk for everything to do with the nation. That is where the store is. Buy some merch to help support what we're doing here, full details of the coaching service, and you can sign up for Joe's weekly blog, not only audio, but you can get something to read with some great inspiration in it as well. And of course, like we said at the start, if you like this, if you like what we're doing, leave us a review, tell friends, tell family, get someone to have a listen. That is what helps the show grow more than anything else. Don't know if there's any further thoughts from anyone, but again, great topic this week. I really like that.
Whose week is it next week?
I believe it is Jose.
Joe, you're aware it's the official 18-month mark.
Oh, look at that.
Week.
Wow, didn't know that.
So now you do. So as long as we don't all fall apart and hate each other in the next 6 days, next week is
6 days is a long time, guys.
Do a special then. Should we do a special? We'll have a talk about that. Maybe we'll have a chat in the chat. Maybe we'll just pause this and maybe have a little bit of a review. I don't know, a review or something. I don't know. I'll throw it out to you guys, see what you think, maybe, and then I'll do the next week or something. Maybe there's something in this.
Absolutely. So everyone out there, join us next week for our 18-month anniversary of Inspiration Nation. Fantastic stuff. Oh, I need to mention as well, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was last week I was supposed to mention it or this week. 1,000 daily videos.
Oh yeah. Gone past that now. It's gone 109, I think, today.
Look at that, 109. We have got, when we started this show, you were on 200 and something.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah, it's mad. It's really weird. It's like, I just think, should I stop now? Should I stop or what?
You can't now. You've gone over 1,000. So that's fantastic stuff. Again, if you check out Joe on social media or on the website, you can see, that's up there every day. Joe's daily doses of inspiration, day 1009. If there's ever an advert for consistency, it is Joe.
Oh, thank you, Lee. I like that. So, biggest takeaways from the conversation. I think it's a really good, honestly, guys, I really enjoyed this today. Honestly, Ryan, it's blown me away. I can't express. I'm speechless, literally. So, Ryan, absolutely blinding what you've done today. So, I want our biggest takeaways. So, can we have some then? What do you reckon, guys?
Yes, Joe, what's yours first?
Okay, so my biggest takeaway, I've actually got a few, but I'm going to just take one of them. It's going to be, it's okay to ask for help. It's going to be mine.
Go on and go with, because I was going to say something similar as well, but yeah, you had a whole list, so I'd have been safe with it. I'm going to say that things are never as bad as they appear to be in your mind.
Never as bad. Okay.
Which is linked to not to marginalise people's issues when they feel them, but maybe a problem shared is a problem halved is a better way to put that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about you, Ryan? Because this was your convo, so
it's okay to challenge yourself if you don't feel 100%.
I like it.
Like that, yeah. Okay, challenge yourself. You're not 100%. Okay. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. So I'm going to put these on the description for the Instagram and the YouTube videos going live this week as usual.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you, everyone out there in the nation. We appreciate it. We would love to hear from you again at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN, across everywhere, but Twitter is my preference. All that's left to do then is count us down, and I shall say 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys later.
So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with Inspiration Nation in the comments below, and make sure you commit to action. So you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here, so go check them out. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you right over there.